Hey folks, Kevin here. Well, it's March 20th, 2020, and today I thought what I'd do is just record a relatively short video, hopefully, of my thoughts about, I've been thinking about everyone out there and all the stress everyone's going through, and how I have very limited ability to help people out other than on a YouTube video like this. And many people are dealing with a tremendous crisis right now. Not just a personal, family, community, but this is multi-community, multi-state, multi-country. It's a global crisis, and it's scary because there's not a cohesive understanding. There's not a group consciousness about how to deal with this situation and what am I going to do? How am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to put food on the table? I'm worried that the store shelves will be empty. I'm worried about my loved ones. I'm worried about how am I going to meet the needs of my kids? All of those different things. And my thoughts are that there's people in our families or in our communities that are extremely stressed out and trying to find ways of dealing with all of this stress or coping with a crisis like this. So I thought I'd share with you my personal way of stemming from my ethics, which are self-care, earth care, people care, and future care. And everything stems from that, but then what things I actually invest in and how we've created so many of the things that we have in our lives that actually started out from a couple of very stressful situations in our lives. So I thought I'd go through those forms of investment that I've talked about in other videos, but I thought I'd break them down a little bit more today. A lot of these investment or forms of capital that I'm going to talk about are known as the permaculture, the 8 forms of permaculture capital. Mine are 10, and I thought I'd just go through those. I jotted some things down today. So the first thing I would say with all of these things, it's about developing healthy habits. Not just having healthy ideas, but really creating habits, routines. It's really, really important. So the forms of capital that I'm going to discuss are physical health, emotional health, spiritual health, intellectual health, experiential health, living wealth, material wealth, cultural health, and financial wealth. So there's 10 different forms of investment that I find myself investing in. And often people are thinking when they think about investments, they think about a diversified financial profile, their savings and so on, and we'll get into the details of that, but I expand it out to being more multifaceted. So we need to really invest in ourselves, those things that are the most important to us. So regarding physical health, first we need to make sure that we're safe from whatever event. It could be a weather event, it could be from a food shortage, water, shelter, decreased physical activity, immobility because of our constricted findings and all, not getting the sleep because of the stress and all. And these are things that I want to look at and always be trying to make investments in it. So we grow our own food, and this isn't to say, oh, show off at this point. It's to give you ideas for how you can prepare yourself for what are unforeseen events that happen, and there will be more such things. And not to put more stress on people, but climate change is going to create more crises. There will be more pandemics in the future, and epidemics, more regionally confined. There will be things that are just going to be out of our control that are going to impact our lives. And my goal is to have a buffer zone so that I have resiliency. So nothing's to say that I wouldn't get a severe viral infection that could kill someone in my age group. But if I know that other comorbidities such as heart disease, liver disease, kidney disease, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, diabetes, obesity, smoking, all of these things, I can address each one of those things in my physical life and try to improve my diet, improve my lifestyle, get the exercise I need, try to get the sleep that I need as well. And I'm not 100% successful with those things, but that gives my physical body the ability to be more resilient. I can get hit by a car tomorrow. The excavator could roll over and crush me. I could get attacked. Anything can happen. And those things aren't in my control. And many of you right now are under circumstances that you're required to stay in place in order to help flatten the curve, if you will, to try and reduce the transmission of this infectious and dangerous disease process. So sheltering in place restricts us. That's an impact on us that we can't control, but we have to find ways that we control other components in our lives. And so one of my goals going through these processes is to possibly get you to think about what your goals are, to think constructively, to make lists, to make plans, to potentially even develop a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, a 15-year plan, whatever it may be. That's how I've gone about things thus far. So far we went through the physical health. It really does make sense. We want to drink good, clean, healthy water. We want to eat highly nutritious food. Now, right now, it's going to be more challenging for those people who don't have adequate food stores. The most readily available food will be drive-through food that's available. If you're able to go to the grocery stores and pick up foods, you may be restricted to getting things that aren't really super healthy food. You do what you have to do during this immediate time, but this may be one of those times that you want to start your own gardens or invest in some of the if you're in a city setting, there may be urban gardeners there. If you're in a suburb area, you may want to start doing your own garden systems as well. And these are all topics that I've talked about in the past, and I'm happy to talk about them in the future if people are interested. Now, a big one right now is the emotional health. So worry, depression, anxiety, stress, poor body image, grief, loss, or being separated from a loved one, or being separated from a system that you had to work in that could take your mind off things like in work and all. Major changes in your life. The things that I say when we're focusing on all those negative things with respect to how these things impact our emotional life, I'd suggest that we dream big, we make a list of goals, our aspiration, identify things that fulfill you. What are the activities and events that really make you feel fulfilled and just, puts a smile on your face, calms you down, and lets you escape from the doldrums of the impacts on things that you have no control over. There's things that we have no control over that are impacting our lives. So I want to suggest that we create activities and lists and goals and aspirations and make plans for how we can change things so we can be more resilient when these impactful events happen. Create meaningful routines if that's at all possible. So some of us are going to be in shelter with some of our family members. We want to make those experiences as good as possible. And certainly get the sleep. You need good sleep. That's one of the ways of enhancing your ability to be healthy in spite of other elements affecting you, including infectious diseases. Spiritual health. Certainly most people think of prayer or meditation, those sorts of things and all, and they're absolutely wonderful. I think of volunteerism, social responsibilities, optimism, contributing to society, connectedness with others, feeling belonging and being part of a group that's and the group, I think really we should try and choose those people that we want to be around, those people who encourage us to always be making, to be in the process of creating a better self. So we're always, if you want to lose weight, you want to have people that encourage you to do that, that don't create obstacles that are going to obstruct your path to losing weight, that would encourage you if you want to go on and advance your education, spend more time with some online resources or doing work studies or internships or whatever it may be. You want to have develop social groups where those people have some of the traits that you would like to adopt for yourself. It's important to feel, to have that feeling of belonging to that group as well. These are all things that I think about, and certainly self-care, self-esteem. These are things, we make those investments that will help to foster our self-esteem, our sense of being a good practitioner of whatever it is that we're doing. Those are all things that I think about that are worthy investments, focusing on these. And please, if you're watching this video and you think of things that I'm leaving out, please add in the comments below. I think it can potentially help people deal with situations like this. Intellectual health. This is one of my favorite areas. New ideas and experiences, desire to increase your understanding, develop and to seek out new skills and develop those and then improve upon those skills, continually challenging yourself to do better, accepting your fears, your failures, and the pains of not doing as well with whatever this intellectual growth that you're ensuing, that you're pursuing. These things can maximize your creative potential. I've talked about first principles thinking and the ways that I've gone about developing skills and researching, and a lot of the skills, before they actually get to be hands-on skills, there's a lot of intellectual research using Google Scholar for me because of my interest in science. So those resources are there. But there's many things. So you may have small children at home, and you may want to say now, okay, what am I going to do for the next few months potentially where my kids won't be in school, and I need to help develop them intellectually? Well, what a better time than to find some online resources like Khan Academy. Khan Academy has developed educational programs starting with kindergarten level and have guides for parents at home or teachers at home to go through a structured way of a curriculum for people. This is free and available to everyone. It takes you all the way up through high school, and I've looked at a few of his videos and they are fascinating. And if you're interested in economics or astrophysics or calculus, or you're interested in a whole variety of things, that's wonderful. There's great YouTube resources if you're interested in, and maybe you want to say, okay, I'm going to be home and I need some income. Maybe I could partner up with some YouTube creator. Like, I'm a YouTube creator now. I do all my own video editing, as you can tell by the quality. But you may decide to go ahead and learn some video editing skills and start to develop those skills, and then you can, from the privacy of your own home, do video editing, partner up with other people who are YouTubers. You may decide that, geez, I want to help people with branding, and I'm thinking about YouTube because some of these things are things that I think about. Or you may say, you know what, I'd really like to start an educational program for the local farmer down the street and bring people in. These are things that I'm sort of interested with our demonstration site here, and ultimately at some point in time I'd like to have a teacher that brings school-age kids into the area and to talk about the various topics that and I won't bore you with those things around here on our site. So there are multiple opportunities, and now with some of the technology that's there, like Zoom or the more common one, so we can actually do work remotely and transfer files back and forth and communicate like telecommunications. These sort of things are rapidly being developed at this time. And maybe you have some interest in coding and software development, which all can be done remotely. This is one of those things, although it's a catastrophic event right now, those people who will have some entrepreneurial desires and they have some skills in software development, whenever there's a huge crisis, when we look back at the market crash in 1929, we look at in 2008, these are times when innovators, creators actually make great strides and change how things develop. And I think that this particular crisis will allow some people to create investments in areas with remote working and all. There's a lot of other disruptive technologies. I've talked a little bit about those in the past as well. Experiential investments or experiential health. So that's learning through experience. That's hands-on learning. That's work studies, internships, independent study, workshops. That's going and working in community gardens or whatever it may be. And again, you can integrate the experiential learning with your children with the intellectual learning. So you learn a little bit about like the auxins, the various plant hormones, and what actually happens when we plant the seeds. And there's no better way than have experience-based and intellectual research based on the experience-based learning. Medical schools do that now. It's experience-based learning as well. You can go through medical school or veterinary school and learn all of the anatomy, histology, microbiology, biochemistry, pharmacology, and neurology, and learn all these different things. And it probably would be better if you actually had a case that you were able to apply that information to. So case-based learning, it has been explored. It's used at Harvard, it's used at Cornell. And case-based learning, I think, is a very advantageous way, because instead of just rote learning information, you actually see where it can be applied and how it's integrated. And I think we have a better job of cementing that into our long-term memory as a result of being able to apply that intellectual research that we do to actual hands-on, reasonable, a way of recording that information more permanently. So those are my thoughts about experiential health, wealth, or investments. Living wealth, we can be enriched by those things that we invest in with our living wealth. So that has to do with living organisms that we depend on. That's even, like I've talked before, about the microbiomes. So our microbiome in our digestive system, if we're eating the right diet, we can enhance anti-inflammatory properties, phytonutrients. We can change our actual mental attitude based on the diet that we're eating. We can increase our strength and our resilience. So living wealth and living investments actually start with our food and our digestive system as well. Plants, animals, water, air, soil, beneficial insects, the microbiomes in the different environments in the soil. So all living things, and they can certainly enhance our life. And the more living capital that we invest in, if we're able to do it. Now there's people who live in very tiny apartments and places, and they're stuck going to work, coming home, watching a Netflix thing, and then going to bed and all. And wouldn't it be wonderful if we had a more fulfilling and nurturative, if that's a word, we're self-nourishing ourselves and feeding ourselves. This is all with the desire to become more resilient, because things are going to happen in our lives. There's going to be major events like a pandemic. There's going to be a car accident. There's going to be the diagnosis of an illness in ourselves or in a loved one. There's going to be things out of our control. So the more things that we can consciously take control of, the better off we can be. Material wealth. So those are those physical assets, raw materials. You hear me talking about different tools. They really help me they facilitate my ability to create some of the things that I'm able to create and do it in a more timely manner. It can include buildings, different structures, cars, tractors, whatever it may be. For some people, it may be the vacuum cleaner, consumer goods, all sorts of things that you would think about with those material wealths. And certainly this is certainly not an exhaustive list that I'm creating right now. And we get down to cultural wealth or cultural investments. They expand out beyond our small social group. They extend out into communities and larger groups, and you may be involved in local politics. You could, and for many people at this time, you might be completely turned off by it, but maybe that would be one of the most beneficial things you could do, is get involved in community events, whether it's the politics, the school board, physical activity events that for the children, library settings, all of those things. And these things include art, music, film, storytelling, history, community events and celebrations. All of those things are part of the cultural investments or cultural wealth that you get to experience. And then again, the final one, number 10 here, is financial wealth. Everyone's pretty much familiar with that. Those are the things that are our savings, our investments, our real estate, our cash. Subtract our debt from that, and those are our financial investments. And that's probably what so many people right now are so worried about, with the markets being where they are and all. But this is how I diversify my portfolio. My investments, my financial investments are very, very few. I only invest in disruptive technologies that I think will have a multi-fold growth and development and return on my investments. So therefore, I don't have what most people would call the safety net of a diversified portfolio. Those people who are looking at their financial portfolios right now may have very diversified, and they realize over the last several years significant growth, but they may have noticed a tremendous decline as well. And it can be crushing if those are the things that those are the only things that we're investing in. You can feel euphoria and feel great. Okay, I'm set for retirement when the market's going well, but you can't control the emotional states of so many people based on it, and the fears of, okay, we got a shelter in space, be mindful of social distancing, don't get too close to people. Well, so many of the things that people depend on, airline travel, whatever it may be, going to the theater, going to the mall, whatever it may be, those things there are all going to be heavily impacted by these outside events that are impacting our lives. So my thought is, I thought I'd share with you how I've set up my diversified profile, investing in 10 different groups of categories, and I gave you examples of some of those. So if there's things I left out, I'm sure there's a bunch. Please leave them in the comments below. If you think this would be of value of somebody, please share it with them. I'm sorry I don't have a lot of visuals for this video, but last night I thought I'd make this video. Again, folks, best wishes to everyone out there. Do what you need to do to meet your physical needs, your emotional needs, to grow and develop during this time of crisis. These are the times where changes are made that change the course of our histories in the future. It's how we deal with these crises that really help us to progress, stagnate, or regress. I'm all for resiliency. I don't like stagnation or stability. I'm always looking for or sustainability, because we don't want to be sustainable right now with the way that things are. I want things to become much more resilient, be able to bounce back when where an unforeseen or undesirable event happens. Well, thanks so much for watching, folks. I really appreciate it. If you found this video of value, please give us a thumbs up, share it with your friends if you think it was of value, and by all means, take care, stay healthy. Remember, social distancing. We're all going to, well, many of us are going to get through this just fine. Take care of your loved ones and yourself. Bye-bye now.